Okay. Is it true to say that for the average woman being the receiver of foreplay, that moving foreplay very rapidly into explicit groping of secondary or primary sexual organs is just not the wisest thing offhand? Is that true?
Yeah, and I think it depends on the person, obviously.
Of course.
But
on average,
what
very broad
happens
strokes.
most often is that this is how men initiate, right? They'll smack a butt, they'll grab a breast, whatever, because they're just trying to be playful and funny.
Yeah, also, they're gorillas. And that's
sure,
what gorillas do.
but they're just like, we don't really know how to do this, so we're just going to do this because it makes our intentions clear. We're just being funny, right? And that for a lot of women is like, ugh, I'm not into that.
Sure.
And like, I love you, but that's so crude and that's not turning me on, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's like really like, okay, like sometimes that's hot. Like sometimes, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I like the aggression or whatever. But sometimes it's not. And like, you just have to like figure out what kind of person your partner is and how do they get turned on. And again, that could be like some of the things you can like do, again, comes back to communication. Is like, you guys could like write down your fantasies and slowly share them with each other and be like, what part of this could we do? Right? What part of this, how could we incorporate? And even just talking about that could be foreplay. Like that could be starting to like get the juices, or you could watch pornography together, or you could, you could watch ethical porn where it's more like you're actually watching people have sex and not like these produced. Yeah. Like you can do different things. You can listen to like women tend to enjoy erotic audiobooks more than they enjoy pornography. So like, hey, I'll listen to the book with you, or like, tell me about the book you're reading or whatever. Right.
Okay.
And so there's different ways to like incorporate that and like figure out, what you can do that really turns the partner on. Because when they're turned on, they'll just jump you. Like it's not, you just have to work on that part, right? Like once they're there, they're not going to hold back because they know you're in the mood. So it's more like, okay, I don't have to hold back. I'm turned on and now I want it. I'm going to take it, right?
Okay.
So it's really just a matter of like getting to that point.
Getting to the point. So let's say you are in the process of touching your significant other. Maybe you have hands on the back of the neck, called neck massage, a little soft touch with the fingers every now and again. It's comforting, it's safe, it feels excellent by itself, but the soft touch fingers rolling down the shoulders, and again, she's kind of like, yes, things are happening. Is there a point at which you would recommend noticing the signs of her interest and transitioning into more overtly sexual things or touching closer to the genitals, for example? And or is it okay to milk out the softer parts for like an indefinitely long amount of time? Is she just going to express frustration, or is she going to hit a curve where she's like, that was really hot 5 minutes ago, but now I'm just kind of fucking bored. Why didn't he just go for the rest of it? Is that a communication thing? Are there subtle nonverbal cues a man can pick up on?
I would suspect that most women will not just fizzle out. Like, yeah, there are some that do, but I would say the majority of women will continually be turned on, and you can milk it just like you would think about like edging. A lot of guys know what edging is, right? So like,
I think it's just an internet meme. But,
but you get to the point of climax, but you don't climax, and you like live there in that space, and you like kind of do that for a while. So it's sort of like you're just building. You're building a fire. You're sort of kindling. And so like most people, like most women, will show you that like, okay, they want a little more. They might like sort of change their body position or turn towards you, or just like nonverbal cues that you can pick up on. They may like try to kiss you, or they may like, sort of give you the nod that they like want you to do more. And so just pay attention, right? And like, and you can ask them. Like, it's not so far-fetched to like just ask, be like, hey, like, would it be okay? Like, is this cool? And like, some people that might not be a turn, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, I want more. Yeah. Like, I want to be respectful. Like, it's a hard balance.
I think it's more of a turn on to ask if you come from a frame of confidence rather than a frame of patheticness.
Yes. That's what I think you have to ask.
Is it okay if I touch you? It's not going to fly. But like, is it okay if I touch you here? You're like, I think you already answered your own question. Yes, just fucking take me, for the love of God. Am I in a romance novel? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yes. And so is it okay to restrain their advances on you just to milk it out more?
I think, you have to sort of figure out what your partner's into, but yeah, you can. Like some people are, for example, into orgasm denial. That's like a thing, right? And they're
Scott, write that down.
And they like, they do love that. Like, and then eventually they allow themselves to orgasm. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing, like some people are into it, some people might not be, and they might get frustrated.
Yes.
So you just have to sort of take their cues. Like, I feel like losing their shit, like, maybe,
Yes.
maybe not so much.
Okay. Another curveball question for you. So far we have the thing of like, you begin with comfort setting, then you go from non-erogenous all the way to erogenous, all the way to extremely erogenous, very personal touching. Eventually the touching turns into other things going on, and then everyone's having a time, and then it's all biology.
So as for this part, like I said earlier in the other video, I think, again, it's all about kind of building that tension. For going back to like my own experiences, what I've had with women, to me, there's nothing wrong, if you want to squeeze a tit and smack a cheek, but it's all about what you're going to add onto it. Like I said earlier, right? Like, and like what the doctor was saying, like most of the time women, they're not going to like refuse, or they're not going to be like, ugh, get away from me. And if they are, well, that's a whole bigger issue. Or, obviously don't, be expecting intimacy if, I don't know, if they're sick, or a family member is sick, or somebody died, like kind of read the room also. But, at least from my own experience, typically, you don't have to, and I like what towards the end, what they were saying about kind of the orgasm denial. I've never called it that, right? But I think it is something kind of like what women do with us men, when they tease us, and how we're like, such a tease. And I think it's the same thing in return, right? We got to do the same thing in return. And, in my experience, it kind of also like, if you're into that, like if you're into the assertiveness, power, trip, or whatever, you want to be kind of like the more assertive, the more domineering one. I think it's also something pretty sexy, if you want to call it that. For us men to go and like, hey, looking good, doing this and doing that, but then also, we get them all hot and turned on, but then we walk away, not like, never mind, but like, yeah, you're setting it up, like what she was saying, well, like, you're starting a fire, and you're also letting your partner know, like, this is just the beginning of it. Like I said at the beginning, it's, building that tension, starting that fantasy in both, yours and her mind. For me, again, my experiences have also, where I've seen success, is not just go up and just smack an ass, or, grab a tit or whatever. Like, to me, grab them from behind, hug them, wrap your arms around them, pull them close to your chest, get near their neck and their ear, kiss them a little bit, give a little bit of loving, just that, and just feel around, then squeeze a tip, but feel around, do all that. You get creative with it, and then, smack a cheek before walking off and giving them a look like, yeah, like this just kind of this just begun. And it sounds so cheesy saying it out loud, because I mean, it's not like I'm saying this out loud. So to me, it's kind of like, you just know, you just do it. You got me? And it's not performing it. It's just, it becomes an instinct the more and more you play with it. Sounds out of context. It sounds, yeah. But, like I said, for me, from my own experience, in moments where like we're good, things are good with her, and even if, life is stressful on her end, I would say at least 99% of the time, it works. Like, it has never been like, she's, again, if it's, as long as it's nothing too severe, like it's, family emergency, or she's like falling apart or anything like that. But like, if she's stressed out about like work or anything like that, it's, again, so much energy and so much emotion already kind of inside of her, where you're coming and you're kind of helping, like, hey, I can help you release a lot of that stress. But it's the nonverbal, like I said earlier, feels cheesy and it feels to like say it, but it's kind of that nonverbal language where you're doing all this and you're not making it obvious either. And again, I'm not saying all this to like, go and manipulate and use it on your partner, because it's supposed to be genuine. It's supposed to be fun for both of you guys, so it's kind of like it's unspoken. You don't have to like speak on it. You don't have to like purposely go and do this. So for the sole purpose of doing it, it's already kind of in the act itself, right? But for me, like I was saying, like 99% of the time it has worked, where like, they're stressed out about whatever's going on in their lives, and they're just like, oh, jump on top of me, and yeah. And whether or not it ends up right there and then, leading to intimacy, it all kind of depends. But like I said, yeah. And lastly, the part where they're saying, where Mike is saying about there's a difference in the way that you approach things. You're not gonna be like, "Hey, can I touch you?" Especially if you're, already in a committed relationship. So you guys, I'm hoping, have that type of relationship where, there's that trust, and, again, you're reading the room right. I think there's a difference between, the way that, like for me, for example, if I hug my partner and I give her a kiss, and it's not really meant as more than just, I love you, or have a good day, or I don't know, glad to see you, or something like that, versus like what we're talking about in this video of like intentionally you're doing it, again, not just, oh well, I just want to bust a nut, or I want to get some ass, or I want to, whatever. Like, it's not that. It's just the experience itself, the fantasy. I don't know how to put it. I think that's the best word that I could come up with off the top of my head right now. Like, that fantasy, like to add fantasy to your routine, and add that spark into your intimacy, you know. So, but yeah, like I was saying, it's to make it clear your intentions with, your physical contact, obviously, is very important. Obviously, it's important too to have that communication. If, like, hey, are you okay with me touching you, all that. But like I said, when you're already in a relationship with somebody and you kind of know them, I think, you don't have to necessarily ask every time, like, hey, can I touch you? Like, it's just reading the room, obviously. If she slaps you, pushes you away, or tells you no, obviously, then yeah, that's obviously a no. But from my own experience, women love that assertiveness. There's a difference now between being assertive with, like, again, kind of like that playful assertiveness versus the I want it and you need to give it to me. That's not being assertive. That's just being, you being a possessive asshole. So, again, I just kind of want to make sure that there's no confusion between the word assertiveness and these type of activities, right? Because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be about the connection you have with your partner. As cheesy as a lot of us, we hate to hear it or even speak on it. Again, it's about us getting out of our own comfort zone. If we really want this relationship to work out with this partner, and we want this to be successful, and we want our intimacy life and that spark to be turned on. So, like I said, I think it's very important to try some of these things. And, like what they were saying, if you and your partner are into, I don't know, watching videos, or if she's into like erotic literature, or, toys, or role play, whatever the hell you're into. I might not be into all that, but whatever the hell you and your partner might be into it, yeah, talk about it, and then make a plan. Nah, like, hey, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and this. Well, I guess it depends on what the activity is, right? But like, if she tells you, like, yeah, I like it when you hug me and kiss me, and you make me feel wanted or desire, whatever, and that turns me on, and it leads to eventually having sex and whatever. Um, versus, I don't know, like, I want to get tied up and get the whip out and get the lube out and all that. Obviously, that will take up some planning and all that. But again, that's to each his own. But yeah, having that open communication to know what you and your partner are into, both separately and also as a couple, and what you're willing to try and what you're willing to do, what the things that you guys are like and want to continue repeating, and adding a thing or two, something new. Maybe you always do it in the room. All right, then let's go to the kitchen. Let's go to the bathroom. Let's go to the dining room. The laundry room. Like just trying something new. And I will continue to repeat this. It's about that just having fun with your partner. Sex is great. Sex is fun and everything. But even, then sex can get boring with just the same old thing. And especially if you're just in it just kind of for your own sake. We would be bitching and moaning, right? If we're having sex with our partner and all she cares about is getting herself off. And it's all about, what we do for her. But then, we're just like, hey, all right, my turn. Too tired. But thank you, though. Like, mutual, that mutual connection, mutual stimulation, mutual pleasure is I think what's the most important thing at the end of the day. So
vast fractions of women want to experience safe, consensual,
correct,
masculine dominance.
Yes.
Like I want to be the little egg on his frying pan. I don't want any fucking control. I've already acceded that. We're good.
Yeah.
I want to be ravaged in a way that I'm not in charge anymore, which I love. Right. Yeah.
So in my experience with my past partners, I come across 3 different types of women when it comes to intimacy. There's the women who like it soft. There's the women who like it rough. And then there's the women who kind of shift between, kind of depending on, I don't know, whatever mood they're in and, well, whatever however we are that day.